Ladies and gentlemen, it is my single honor and privilege to deliver this keynote address at this august gathering, which was not supposed to be my gathering in the first place. But as explained, the gentleman on whose shoes I'm standing, unfortunately I stand in too many people's shoes. I don't know when I will ever stand in my own shoes. In his inaugural speech, His Excellency the President of State and Head of Government, also Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, made a wide call that Zimbabwe is open for business, and hence Bulawayo is open for business. In doing so, or in coming up with that mantra, we had in mind as government that Zimbabwe has been isolated for too long. And one isolation was that Zimbabwe was not open for business. Hence, we were to make that clarion call to the entire world that now Zimbabwe is now open for business. And indeed, it is open for business. In recent weeks, to be more precise, 2 weeks ago, I went to Japan as a special envoy to the president and met the Prime Minister of Japan to convey the same message that Zimbabwe is now open for business, and that all the impediments that hampered the ease of doing business are no longer the case in Zimbabwe, and were received with open arms. I did the same trip to Spain and Portugal and completed that early this week. The message was still the same. And they are all eager to embrace Zimbabwe with its new dispensation. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe also emphasized on the changes that were sure to come with this new dispensation. And we have since seen all the changes going on around us. Indeed, it is not business as usual in Zimbabwe anymore. It is not business as usual in Zimbabwe in general, and it should not be business as usual in Bulawayo in particular. From henceforth, we must hit the ground running. Bulawayo has historically been the industrial hub of the country, and it is appropriate, therefore, to engage at this level and discuss around its restoration and advancement. We would want Bulawayo to be the hub of our industry in Zimbabwe. When I was reliably informed that a workshop of this nature and magnitude was being organized by the Honorable Minister of State, I had to put aside other commitments in view of the importance I attach to the revival of this metropolitan province. Barely 2 weeks ago, as I've mentioned, I was in this province engaging other business people of Bulawayo along the same parameters. And comrades and gentlemen, comrades, I left ladies, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, this signifies one thing, and that one thing is the importance that His Excellency the President and the nation places on economic matters and the revival of this city. Prior to this visit, we witnessed, with the commissioning of the NRZ, a crucial anchor to the revival of the nation's transportation capabilities with immense downstream effect. Just yesterday, before we commenced our Politburo, we witnessed, together with the President, a signing ceremony of a huge investment that will kick off from the 28th of March this year. An investment to the magnitude of 4.2 billion. So Zimbabwe is really open for business. This investment, because of the bureaucracy that we had then, had been on the cards for more than 6 years. But within 90 days of our coming into power, this was signed yesterday. So we mean business, we're hitting the ground running. Bulawayo is renowned for excellency in the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, the tourism sector, and the agricultural sector, among others. As a government, we have taken a stance of looking ahead with renewed motivation for developing these sectors, not only to their former glory, but to international standards through supporting innovation and entrepreneurship. I commend the business community of Bulawayo for coming in their numbers. It reveals a unity of purpose for the betterment of our nation and the region in general. I look forward, therefore, to hearing more from the presenters coming from different sectors on the solutions, as this will further arm us with as we engage in the upper echelons of decision-making on how to enable the transformation we are determined to see in partnership with you, the people of Bulawayo, and with you, the people on the ground. It can't be our success as the leadership, but it is going to be our success. Our leadership is that one of servant leadership. We are the servants of the people. We do what the people want. If we then don't walk our talk, you have got the right to check us out. We were not born to be leaders. Everyone else can do the same. But as commanders, we don't win our wars in the battlefront or from the trenches. We win it in the boardroom. So in the boardroom, we have won. It is the implementation that you are going to be doing from the trenches. And you are the people in the trenches. The call for the revival of our economy has been made beyond our borders. I'm happy that, Honorable Minister, you are already engaging outside borders. This buttresses not only our national, but our regional vision as well as Zimbabwe. We as SADC do things in the same manner. We consult and we move together as a region. We are a region that is the envy of Africa. And hence, President Ramaphosa was just here a few days ago to exchange notes. Because without other members of this region, we cannot succeed. My president has been to nearly all other Southern African leaders, informing them about the new dispensation and also seeking advice on how to advance the development or economical development of our region and Africa as a whole. We are really encouraged here by the presence of the esteemed delegation of South Africa at this conference. To us, this demonstrates the triumph of our common goals as African countries and revitalizes our commitments through our various regional trade agreements. We would like to say to the MEC and his delegation, we look forward to further intensive engagements and the mutual benefits that will arise for both nations through our endeavors. We are one people. We are one people. Africans are one people. Africans belong to one continent. And Southern Africans belong to one region. And this region is SADC. What separates us are artificial boundaries of the Limpopo, the Zambezi, and maybe the Elephant Trail to the west, and the Eastern Highlands Mountains to the east. But essentially, we are one. To his worship, the Mayor of Bulawayo, as represented, I'm reliably informed that through your Economic Development Office and Council itself, investment incentives have been put in place to incentivize and support investment to this metropolitan. It is only through incentives that you can attract investment. If there are no incentives, then forget about anybody choosing Bulawayo before other places. So you are in competition with other metropolitans in terms of providing conducive environment and appropriate incentives so that you can attract the investment. Your worship, this is highly commendable and is in line with our endeavors and efforts to make special economic zone programs a reality, which transforms into the nation's future. Bulawayo has been turned into a special economic zone. And with the economic zone comes incentives. There comes tax base, rebates. Investors that choose to invest in a declared special economic zone are exempt from taxation, are given a holiday, the tax holiday for about 5 years. Thereafter, it's reviewed gradually. So, it is better to have an investment here than not to have it. Those that are going to invest in Bulawayo are not going to take away the infrastructures that they will have put up. What we are interested in as a nation, and maybe as Bulawayo in part, is the creation of employment. When we create employment, enough and adequate employment, which means that our people are going to have disposable income. When they have disposable income, then it means that disposable income is going to translate into a wide taxable base. And that wide taxable base will actually is going to contribute to the improvement of our GDP and our per capita. Dialogue is key to the development of new knowledge and innovation in business and commerce. Therefore, without this dialogue, without this exchange of ideas, without this think tank, let's just forget about development. So we need to dialogue across board, regardless of whether you belong to a different political party or different political dispensation. Zimbabwe comes first. The economy of Zimbabwe comes first. The development of Zimbabwe comes first. So forget about your political persuasions and then fight to improve the livelihood of your people. You are Zimbabweans first. You are Zimbabwean first before you become people of Ndebele or people of Mashonaland or people of any other region. You are Zimbabweans first. So Zimbabwe is your denominator. Zimbabwe is your surname. Be proud to be Zimbabweans. When they ask you, don't be like some people that I know from East Africa who say, yes, I am so and so, but such and such by tribe. No, there's no tribe here. I say we would want to walk the talk. And what I'm saying is, I'm saying it because I walk the talk. I belong to no tribe. Hence, there are very few tongues or languages that I don't speak in Southern Africa because I have got to be accommodated and I've got to come accommodate other people. But if you have got a barrier of not understanding other people, then you are not going to appreciate the cultures and the ways other people do things. So then you become blinkered and myopic. So open up, as we've opened Zimbabwe for business. Let your minds be opened up as well. Open up, interact, dialogue, discuss. You know, don't say that I've got a problem. She doesn't allow me to say there are problems. She says there are challenges. And there is nothing insurmountable when people are united and they want to achieve a goal, a vision. When you set yourself to achieve a certain vision, you get to plan ways of attaining that vision. And in other jurisdictions, they say there is a vision, and then there is a what? A mission. A mission is the means of getting to the realization of the vision. So you are here, not as minnows, but you are here as people of Zimbabwe, as equals, and your dialogue is going to produce something. If it were not so, I wouldn't be standing before you here, because we would not have liberated this country. We set ourselves on a mission to liberate this country as way back as 1957. South Africa was 1912. But we did not tire, we did not lose course until we attained our independence in 1918. And when we attained our independence in 1980, we deliberately said there shall be free education and there shall be free health care. Because if you are not well, you will not listen to those that will be educating you. So a health mind first, and then an educated mind as well. Today we say that we stand here proudly in Africa as one of maybe the number one in terms of literacy. But what do we have to show for that? What do we have to show for that? Nothing. It's because we don't dialogue. We've been so educated that we start, splitting hairs and start fighting politically and all the like, until we've got such a small country having 72 political parties. What luxury is that? So, there it is. Someone is laughing, he thinks I'm joking. There are 72 of them. And mostly they are all going to contest for presidency and for seats in parliament. I'm very happy that they be so, because they will split their vote and my party will eventually win. Comrades and friends, we politicians are given to talking, isn't that? We are like the men of the cloth. Eh? They are answering to a call. It's a call, isn't it? Someone was praying here. We were talking about building something to heaven, a tower to heaven. That's what he was saying. But he said, but he then coined it to mean that it means unity. Oh, okay, that's fine. What about if they had fallen there? Would they fall and then come down and speak in the same tongue, in the same language? No, let's leave it. Okay. I'm equally very biblical. Very biblical. In the sense that I think that book was written by a politician of repute in the name of Jesus Christ. And that man has the greatest following, I think. I think he comes second to Muhammad. Eh? He comes second to Muhammad in terms of the following. So, but they are brothers, by the way. Did you know that they were brothers? Where is the Mfundis? They are brothers in the sense that others are the descendant of Isaac and others are the descendant of who? Ishmael. Are they not brothers? So when they fight their wars, don't choose sides. Because at the end of the day, it will be you who will suffer. Because they are brothers. And they were given different dispensations to look after. Comrades and friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to implore you, really, to proceed with the business of the day. It doesn't matter you started late. Let it go into the night. But as long as you are going to come out with solutions, with resolutions that are going to build this city, that are going to revive the economy of this city, that are going to restore that legacy the city once held. A lot of people in Zimbabwe used to come to work in Bulawayo from different provinces because that's where everything happened. That's where the smoke billowed day and night. So we want to see those chimneys again. We want to see that smoke, as you call yourselves. So let it happen. So proceed with your business, deliberate at leisure, share ideas. And then whatever you do, she's going to do it through her own channels, and we will get to know the report. He says that I left quite a lot of things coming here. Yes, I left quite a lot of things. Not only that. I was supposed to be in Zambia today. It's Friday, eh? Huh? For another feather in my cap. Because I never stop reading, I never stop. It is a hobby to me. So unfortunately, I say to someone, you're just going to collect that certificate. They will come and pile up there. But let me tell you one thing. Before I go away from that, I move away from the podium. There is nothing that comes easy in life. Nothing, completely nothing. I can see here, we are men and women, isn't it? Huh? For those that have got their women, they say that this is my wife, this is my husband. Did it come easy? Huh? If that did not come easy, why do you expect the development of Bulawayo to come that easy? We are all here born of a woman, isn't it? Was that easy? No. It was not easy. Because it was a risk, you know. The mothers could have died in the process. But because they wanted to bring life, they made it. And here we are. We are now talking tall and walking tall all over. So, it will never be easy. So don't think it's going to be easy. What we can only do as government is to improve on the way we should be doing business, what we call the ease of doing business. Leveling the playing field for you. Making sure that whatever you want to do, whether in partnership or what, it is done within the period that you want to do. Because if you don't do so, there is nothing as timid as capital. It will fly away. It will fly away. Because it is always opportunistic. You want to do certain things at a certain given time so that you maximize on the profits. If you don't do it that time, the chances are gone. So do it now. Bulawayo, do it now. Otherwise, it will be too late. And then you will be pointing fingers at other people saying that we were neglected. I know we are fond of saying that, but who neglected you? You neglected yourself. Especially people from this region. You've got a region. You've got a tendency of ukalala, isn't it? Huh? You always lay kalala, isn't it? Yeah. By the time you realize that for you to catch up is now a problem, then you start blaming the leadership. Start blaming us. That the leaders in Ndebele, they are not doing enough. We won't come and do it for you. Do it for yourself, we will support you. I thank you.
Good morning to you all. I have the task of starting us off, and I'm supposed to cover what is a broad-brushed overview of the economy of Bulawayo as we see it as business people. The following presentation is not my ideas alone, it is a collective of ideas drawn from various sectors, but I want to warn you that it is not an exhaustive list. So if you are left out, it's not because we left you out deliberately or that sector is not important. We are also, for those that are from the SME sector as well, this presentation is not aggregated by size, it's aggregated by industry and by idea. I start off by, I just got to get this correct. Yes. I start off by talking a statement that's already been mentioned this morning. I'm going to go through this presentation very quickly, but I start off by talking about what it means to be a middle-income economy, because this statement has been made. But being a numbers person, I started to ask myself, what does it mean to say middle income? And where do we stand in terms of middle income? How far are we from middle income? And what does it take to get to middle income? What sort of time horizon are we talking about when we get to middle income? So I have just a summary for you here, very short. You will see that a heavily indebted poor country is a country where the citizens have a GNI or gross national income of $856 per annum. That's per year. A low-income developing country, also known as an LIDC, where we fall under at the moment, and I'll talk about that in a moment. That's an income of under $2,510 per year. That's a low-income country. A middle income is one that is between $2,511 and $12,000 per annum, or $1,000 a month. So if your salary is above $1,000 a month, it means you are living well above the middle income target. But that's not the issue. The issue is that there are too few of us that are at middle income level, and we need to pull the whole country out of poverty. In China, they pull 30 million people out of poverty every year. Just to give you an idea that this is possible, other countries are doing it. I think the Vice President mentioned that we are all born of woman, and I think the Chinese are also born of woman. If they can did it, why can't we did it? This is a very quick map to show that the low-income countries, they are mostly situated in Africa, and you will see that Zimbabwe is among them. And our strategy as a country, as enunciated by His Excellency, E.D. Mnangagwa, is basically to take us off this map onto another map of high-income countries. I then did a little bit of work to try and play around with the numbers to say, if we are to be a middle-income country, we essentially, in Zimbabwe, we have a word that we love, and the word is called basically. Basically, what it means is that we need to multiply our income by 10. Just this week, a report was issued by the IMF that showed that Zimbabwe ranked number 31 out of 59 LIDCs, or low-income developing countries. Zimbabwe ranked number 31. Zambia was about 18. The second was Nigeria. The first country, I've never heard of it, I first saw it on this list, is called Bhutan. I never was taught that country in geography, but it was there and it's number 1 on the list. So Zimbabwe is at 940. And in order to become a middle-income country, colleagues, we need to multiply our income, our productivity by 10. To simplify this for you, colleagues, it means that we need to multiply our turnover. If you are a company that is generating $1 million, in order for us to reach middle-income status, you need to get to $10 million. If you are a company that is generating $10 million, you need to go to 100. We need to multiply our productive efforts by at least 10. Now, economists will tell us that there are things like labor factor productivity, and I won't get into that, it's too complicated, but all we know is we need to multiply our efforts by at least 10 in the next 12 years to become a middle-income country. And when we become a middle-income country, I've just simplified it here to say Bulawayo is made up of 1 million people. If there's 1 million of us that are generating that much in income, we will become a $10 billion economy. When somebody was helping me with these slides, he says, well, what are we now? I said, I don't know. But I'm more interested in what we can become. That if we get to that level, we will be a $10 billion economy. And I thought that was a nice sort of summary of our target as Bulawayo for the next 12 years or up to 2030, so that we can fit into this vision of a middle-income country. I now go into, I have this slide. Basically, this slide just says that, and the Vice President has already mentioned this, that in order to get to that, to reach a GDP of 10 billion for the city, you'll know that the GDP of the country is about 14, 15 billion. So this is a significant target for us. And the Vice President says these things don't come easy. I think it's correct. It's a big target. It's a big goal. But I believe that Bulawayo is able to do it if we shift our thinking, if we engage and we have dialogue and we have meetings such as this where we can discuss. And if we implement some of the things we discussed. A lot of, some of the people on our Twitter handle are very worried that we have these meetings and then nothing happens afterward. But I think it's up to all of us to hold each other to account to make sure that the things that we discuss are brought to reality. And look at our structures as well. How have we been operating? Colleagues, I then have this map. It's a mind map. I know probably from where you sit, our machines may be slightly out of focus. But it's basically a mind map that shows the pillars of the city in terms of the industries or what we believe is the future economy, just looking at where people are spending their energies. A good economist will look at what the entrepreneurs are thinking, where they are investing their efforts, what sort of things they are talking about, and that's what we have done in drawing this summary out. And I will go through each of these very quickly in the next 10, 12 minutes or so to basically highlight, there's that word again, to basically just highlight the key aspects of what we believe are the constituent industries for the city of Bulawayo. The first one is right at the top there, is anchor projects. There are certain anchor projects that have high multipliers that affect a lot of downstream and upstream and related industry. On that list, we have the NRZ, the National Railways of Zimbabwe, which we are glad that work has already begun on the National Railways of Zimbabwe. And as business people, as the business community, as entrepreneurs, we are very much interested in what is going there, what is going on in the NRZ and around the NRZ, because it affects our businesses. I remember when I started working for Blue Ribbon Industries in the 90s, you used to get a train that comes from Bulawayo every morning. I was in Harare then. And when you got up in the morning, there was a train that would pull up with products that were made in Bulawayo. So the distance, the business distance or the industrial distance between Harare and Bulawayo was very small. And so it didn't matter whether a company was here in Bulawayo or in Norton because of the strong rail link. So this is a key, I merely point this out as a very key project and anchor project. We have others, and I won't go into each one of them one by one, but we have the Cold Storage Commission, which affects a lot of us that are in the farming community. There are value chains that are linked into the Cold Storage Commission, also known as CSC. Zisco is not in Bulawayo, but is very close to the economy in Bulawayo because we have a lot of foundries. Just behind here, we have Connolly's, we have FE Cells, we have a lot of companies that were built around the iron and steel value chain. And so it is still located here, and the infrastructure, Honorable Vice President, is still here, is still there, waiting for this big anchor project of Zisco Steel to start up, and then these industries can come alive into Tungenjalo. We have the Mchabezi pipeline, that's another project. Allow me, colleagues, to then move to the next one. Very quickly here, infrastructure and construction. There will be specific discussions on each of these nodes or these pillars, so I won't speak a lot about them, but just in case we run out of time, just in case the Vice President has to go off, we want to have deposited some of these key pillars of the Bulawayo economy to make sure, Honorable Vice President, that you have them and you understand what your entrepreneurs and business people are thinking. Infrastructure. Around infrastructure, we have our roads, which are in need of rehabilitation and also affect our costs. We have housing. Our staff don't have adequate housing. There's the water. There are water issues to do with how much water we are losing through old, antiquated pipes that move our water. We understand there's a big loss there, which ends up translating into a cost. We've spoken about the railways, special economic zones. We are glad that colleagues from Limpopo province are working on similar issues. Bulawayo, as you know, has been earmarked to be a special economic zone. That work is still ongoing, and obviously it's to put pace to that work. The Egodini project, we have a presentation later on that will be done, and we will talk about that. Honorable Vice President, colleagues, I then move on to agri-value chains. Bulawayo, as has been mentioned before, does have agriculture-based value chains around it, and a lot of the businesses that are in the city run on these value chains, both now and for the future. We have the cattle and beef, but lately there's also been the subject of small livestock. We understand that the Cold Storage Commission, for example, is sitting on a huge order book for goats that are required in Angola. So these are some of the ideas that we will need to connect to see how we begin to activate or to encourage entrepreneurial activity around these areas. There are also the small grains which have been neglected, but if you go to most places now, we want to go back. In fact, I understand there's a gentleman who's written a book, If Your Grandmother Didn't Eat It, Don't Touch It. In other words, we are going back to eating those organic foods because they are healthy, because they are nutritionally beneficial, and they have markets overseas in Europe and in other places. So it's time to take a look at those industries on how we create scale around these industries. Honorable Vice President, there's also the issue of harnessing water bodies. I think the conventional thinking, you said yourself that we need to open our minds. We agree. One of the things that closed our minds was our geography teachers that told us that we are Region 5 and we can't grow crops. That was not true. We would like to open our minds because we have discovered that if you have irrigation, there are a lot of grains that we can grow even though we are in Region 5. So the issue, the solution is in irrigating agricultural produce for productivity. So we would... Thank you. If you can't get it, you have to solicit. I will now move on to what is conventionally known, where I sit, which is industry, which is what I normally talk about, but today I was asked to just give a brief overview summary, which is what I'm doing, and I'm running out of time. But the industries in Bulawayo remain critical, and as you have mentioned, there are a lot of industries. That's maybe too small there. We have FMCG, which is your fast-moving consumer goods, which is where I sit. I had to put that on there because I also want to be relevant. We're in fast-moving consumer goods, and there are many companies that are in fast-moving consumer goods, your Lobels, your RNL biscuits, and so on and so on. So these companies are still there, and we need to look at them. And I know colleagues that are here will be wanting to ask you, Vice President, about Forex. Because on Monday, that will be the issue. Today, we are having this lunch together, but on Monday, the real issue will be Forex, and Forex for Bulawayo companies. Honorable Vice President, we know you speak to the President directly. We implore your good office to remind colleagues that there is an industry that is still there, and it needs to be alive to get to 2030, and it's kept alive by Forex allocation. Thank you, Honorable Vice President. The competitiveness of industry nowadays is along value chains. I've highlighted this. And the key value chains around the city of Bulawayo, the beef to leather value chain is a key value chain. CSC is in that value chain. But we also have many other abattoirs in the beef industry. And Bulawayo used to generate beef not just for Zimbabwe, not just for Southern Africa, but as you will know, for Europe as well. So it's a value chain that we need to look at developing. And all along that value chain is employment, because you get your hides from that value chain. Your shoes come from that value chain. Your belts. I went to a company in France last year that makes saddles, ezokata amahachi, to sit comfortably. And they use leather to make those. And the gentleman, when I told him I'm from Zimbabwe, he says, oh, we get some leather from Zimbabwe through a trader that comes from your country, but it's only about 0.1%. Most of it we are getting from Ethiopia. So we have an opportunity, colleagues, Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister of State, an opportunity to rekindle and restart this value chain. But we need a paradigm shift. We need a mental shift. Ngoba inkomo kithi ilifa, but we need to think differently. We need to think commercially. How do we harness all the cattle that are around us for business, for commerce, so that we are plugging into global value chains, regional value chains? I won't speak too much about the others, and colleagues will pick up a little later. The hardwood to timber value chains, our teak, it used to be known as Rhodesian teak, now it's known as Zimbabwean teak, but it's still as good. Cotton to clothing value chain, a lot of cotton companies, and there are some that have already restarted their operations, like Archer Clothing, which is now from employing, from literally having closed, now employ over 1,500 people. So the cotton to clothing value chain is still very much alive in Bulawayo. I've already spoken about the iron and steel value chain. Bulawayo, like Johannesburg, is surrounded by gold, and there are gold mines, and sometimes we forget that we are surrounded by gold. But it's time we probably, Vice President, opened up our minds to say, this gold, how do we as Bulawayo participate in the gold sector? By having a vibrant industry around gold. And we also have small-scale miners who last year, for the very first time, surpassed the larger mines put together. So small-scale mining is becoming a big contributor to the gross domestic product of this country, and can be a big contributor to the gross domestic product of the city of Bulawayo. Colleagues, I must move faster. I will merely point out these next slides so that I can complete my presentation. Our young people are very active in the ICT sector and related services. Bulawayo, because we speak, Vice President, I had never really heard you speak, but your English is very good, very polished. That is who we are, and we have this, our young people, starting from our elderly people, right down to our youngest, our English is very good. But we need to, instead of just praising each other, we need to look commercially, how we leverage these good accents and this English. The solution is called call centers. In India, this is $1 billion business, being receptionists for the rest of the world. And our ICT is advancing fast enough for us to turn a place like this into a call center where people, Nissan, we can be answering calls and directing problems and creating a back office for the rest of the world. Our accountants are very good. We can be an accounting back office for the rest of the world. We communicate very well. These are opportunities through ICT, information and communications technology, that Bulawayo can participate in as we go towards 2030. Colleagues, Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister, our culture, we have a deep culture, heritage of culture, and again, we need to relook. We need to open our minds and say to ourselves, all these assets that we have, if you go to old Bulawayo today, you will find it's dilapidated. There is no tourist traffic. Nobody visits there. It's because we have not yet packaged these for the international tourist community. I took an investor to Matopo last year, and we were by ourselves. And his words were to me, that's when I woke up as well. He said, Moyo, how can you have all this and nobody comes to see it? This is beautiful. He actually extended his stay because he was enjoying himself so much in Matopos. Then I realized that probably we are not thinking commercially about what we have. We are taking for granted what we have. But we have many other historic sites, Kami ruins, Lodlo ruins. We have theaters around Bulawayo, which we need to take up. The Limpopo Spatial Development Initiative falls under what we are calling here the COMESA. Oh, I beg your pardon. It's on the next one. This one, colleagues, Honorable Vice President, is to do with the fact that Bulawayo houses some key educational institutions. National University of Science and Technology, the School of Mines, the School of Hospitality, Theological College of Zimbabwe, Bulawayo Polytechnic, Hillside Teachers College, United College of Education, where my mother trained. All these things we take for granted. But could we not, colleagues, turn Bulawayo into an education hub for the whole of COMESA, just like Makerere Universities was in the 50s and 60s? University of Lusaka was in its heyday. Could we not turn the whole city, instead of trying to rekindle all the industries that were there? Maybe not all industries can be revived. Maybe we need to rethink. We need to open our minds and look at offering something where we have a competitive advantage. I remember when we were growing up, there used to be people from Botswana that were students. Befunda eziteko. This is nothing new, but perhaps we need to think of it at a higher scale, at a COMESA level, where there's a population of over 500 million people, and offer this and make this an offering to the rest of Africa to say Bulawayo is open for business, Bulawayo is open for education. I'm trying. All right, I'm about to finish. I have one more. Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am rushing. The next one is very simple, is the regional value chain, the one that I was about to mention, the Limpopo Special Development Initiative. To say Bulawayo is a corridor, we need to look at our north-south, south-north relationship and leverage and get assembly industries into the city for the rest. Colleagues, Honorable Vice President, in order to do this, we must have a vibrant financial services sector. And I'm going to get to my last slide now. But we need financial services that are focused on the city, that are focused on Bulawayo. And it is in this regard that we think it is time that there was a bank at least headquartered in Bulawayo. Vice President, that was unsolicited. Colleagues agree with me. We need a bank that is focused on the city, and we will be collaborating with a few colleagues to see if we can get a license so that we can develop. There is no economy that has ever developed without the support of a vibrant, active, engaged, creative financial services offering, and we need that for the city. But there are new forms of investing: business angel investing, impact investing, crowdfunding, private equity funding, and we will need to be exploring these. Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister, colleagues, I end by this slide, which is the action required. After having said all this, there are things that we require. The acceleration of an inclusive process around anchor projects in the city. It's important that we dialogue and we discuss. It's good that deals are being signed, but as Bulawayo, we would like to participate before deals are signed, so that we are involved, so that we participate and we contribute, because we live here. Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister, colleagues, we need fully resourced government offices that operate in Bulawayo, that can issue permits and documents in Bulawayo, so that all these things that are on that big spider that I was sharing, we can do them faster, better, and more viably without incurring costs. A young person wanting to start a business in a particular area will not have the resources to always go up to Harare to chase up after a permit. This is not an offense to Harare or a complaint. It's just pointing out the fact that we would do better if we had fully resourced. I'm glad that the Ministry of Industry has been a trailblazer in this, Honorable Vice President. I now get my permits from Ndebele through the Ministry of Industry. But there are still other ministries where we need assistance in getting these offices to be fully functional. Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister, colleagues, we need a decentralized tender board submission process. When we are applying for tenders, all of them are centralized, even for tenders that are here. That may need to be adjusted so that we are faster, we participate. Thank you, ma'am, for that lonely applause. You have obviously felt the pain that others have felt in the fact that we want to participate in these tenders. Policies to support corporate farming and contract growing will be key, Honorable Vice President, as we seek to connect in value chains and inclusive value chains that uplift communities around us. Because we as business leaders have also been at fault. We have risen in our prosperity without taking others with us. And so it is time to engage. But in order to do this, we will need policies that protect. Point number 5 is my last one. To facilitate the promotion of a fully fledged bank headquartered in Bulawayo. Siyabonga, Dawoka, Realeboga.